The squads are announced and we're now getting closer and closer to the big kickoff on Thursday, the 5th of February. Now with the squads announced, we can really start digging into the player pool to identify the fancy talents to guide us to victory in 2026. Whether it's the big premium options or the value picks. In the lead up to the championship, I'll be covering it all here on Fantasy Rugby Geek. Today, we're looking at the heavy hitters. These are the players who should be the highest scoring players in the fantasy game by the time the tournament comes to the end. While my strategy will be to mix things up throughout the tournament based on the fixtures and who's playing each week, with these following players you can build a very strong spine of players that you can rely on week in, week out to deliver you those all important fantasy points. So without further ado, here's my top 10 premium picks for the 2026 Fantasy Six Nations. Starting things off in an obvious place, but he simply can't be ignored. The top try scorer from 2025, Bielle-Biarrey. Available for 15 stars, LBB scored a huge 8 tries in his 5 Six Nations games last year and was the second highest overall fantasy point scorer in the game in 2025 with 206 points overall. More than just a try scorer, LBB also was second in the championship for assists with 4 and was in the top 10 for both metres carried with 400 metres and defenders beaten with 13. His form for both club and country has been absolutely sensational this season. This season alone, since September, he scored 18 tries in 17 appearances for Bordeaux in the top 14 in Champions Cup and France in the Autumn Nations Series. He's truly in a class of his own and is as safe a pick as it gets. Do you like rugby prizes? Before I move on into the second pick, I just want to share that I've set up an exclusive prize league for the 2026 Men's Six Nations fantasy game for subscribers to my members only site FRG Premium on buymeacoffee.com. With prizes coming from a variety of the FRG partners, including a top prize for the winner of a £100 voucher at the Rugby Shop, lifetime premium membership to the excellent Rugby Results iPhone app Gainline, a Rugby mystery box from Blindside Box, a voucher to spend at Old Novo, a voucher to use on Rugby Wardrobe, 6 months free access to FRG Premium, and a fancy Rugby Geek trucker hat. And there'll also be smaller prizes for second and third place. Obviously, by signing up, you get access to the other member benefits, including being able to see my personal team reveals, not just for the Men's Six Nations, but also for the Prem, URC, Women's Six Nations, Top 14 and others. You'll be able to share your team with me for direct feedback on any changes I recommend. I'll be able to help you with start-sit quandaries or help you with a bit of fantasy team surgery to help get your season back on track. So please sign up. There's a link in my description. Okay, let's get back to it. Next up is another man who's been racking up the tries for both club and country to an elite level over the last year, Tommy Freeman. He's available for 14 stars and last year he joined an elite group of players to have scored in every single round of a single Six Nations. 5 tries to his name, with a try in every single match he played. He was also in the top 10 for defenders beaten with 15 and the top 10 for offloads with 7. He ended up averaging 32.2 fantasy points per game in the 2025 championship. His form over the last 12 months has been nothing short of sensational. Since last year's Six Nations finished, in games for England and Northampton Saints, he's made 17 appearances and scored 20 tries in those 17 games. He's recently bounced around for Saints, playing on the outside centre and on the wing, and may well find himself in the centres again for England this year, but don't let that put you off. In his last 4 appearances at centre for Northampton, he scored 5 tries. No matter where he's playing, he's scoring. Now we have one of the most expensive but most reliable options in the fantasy game, Thomas Ramos. He's pricey at 16 stars, but a cheat code as an additional kicker outside of the usual fly half position. Last year, he ended the tournament with the most overall points in the championship, courtesy of his elite kicking ability, with a huge 21 conversions and 8 penalties, but he's way more than just a kicker. Last year, he got a try and 2 assists, carried for 441 metres, which was the 5th highest in the championship, and made 7 offloads. He also got 50-22 as well, something that you know he's got in his locker. He's also been in hot form in the top 14 this season with an average of 39.4 points per game in the top 14 fantasy game, which is a very similar style game to the official Six Nations one. He's pricey, but with that kind of consistency, he's worth every penny. Another pricey one here, but totally justified given his total outlier status in his position, it's Dan Sheehan. Sheehan is like a third winger for Ireland, regularly finding himself out in space, out wide to finish moves for Ireland. His international try scoring record is absolutely phenomenal. both from open play but also from mauls as well. He scored 12 tries in his last 16 matches for Ireland and 5 tries in each of his last 2 Six Nations campaigns. There's no other hooker in the game who even gets close to that. He's played few and far between for Leinster in the URC this season, being reserved just for the big games and for the Champions Cup matches, but when he's played, he's always made a massive impact. Regardless of the opposition, Sheehan is a must pick week in, week out. Next up, we have last year's top scoring player in the entire fantasy game, Blair Kinghorn. Priced at just 14 stars, Kinghorn will bring plenty of bang to the buck. When he slots in at 15, as he will likely do for Scotland, Kinghorn is simply a metre-eating machine. For context, last year he carried for 855 metres. Is 855 metres a lot? Well, for context, the player who came second with the second highest amount of metres carried was Duhan van der Merwe on 475. So 855 is an absolutely obscene amount. While I expect a bit of regression, numbers like that just can't be kept up. I do expect him to deliver time and again from fullback. Last year, he also beat 25 defenders, the second highest in the competition, scored 2 tries and made 1 assist, and even got a couple of conversions in his role as one of Scotland's backup kickers. From 15 as well, he'll likely put up plenty of up and unders, so should rack up a few retained kick points, which is a new measure for this year. He's been stringing a good run of games together for Toulouse in the top 14 this season, and his injury issues seem to be well behind him. He's been deployed this season for Toulouse at fly half, on both wings and at fullback. So his top 14 stats aren't quite as impressive as his Six Nations stats, but if he gets position at fullback for Scotland, there's absolutely no stopping him. Next up, a man that I wouldn't be surprised to see at the top of the highest scoring forwards and potentially the overall highest scoring player in the game, Earl. When looking at the stats, he's not been tearing it up to the same level for Saracens this season as he has for his stats for the Six Nations, but his role for Saracens is completely different, with the lion's share of the carrying duties at Saracens going to Tom Willis. With England, it's a different story, and Earl remains one of Steve Borthwick's favourite options for carrying in heavy traffic. In 2024, he was one of the highest scorers in the fantasy game, and in 2025, he still delivered, averaging 32.6 points per game. And he was the forward with the highest metres carried in the championship with 425 metres, and he was also second for breakdown steals with 5. The emergence of the equally explosive Henry Pollock definitely is a threat to Earl's time on the field. However, during the autumn, with Pollock coming off the bench, Earl still played the full 80 twice, shifting to the flanks when Pollock came on. The centre spot is a position without a massive depth of quality fantasy options, but one player who most definitely does fit that criteria is Tommaso Menoncello. An absolute beast, both in defence and attack. Menoncello is one of the most consistent fantasy performers in the entire game. Despite a blip in round 2 last year against Wales, which was ironically the week that many people ended up captaining him, Menoncello averaged 33.8 points per game. And if you take round 2 out the equation, he averaged 40.25 points per game. His stats tell the full story. In 2025, he made more tackles than any other back with 59 tackles. He made more breakdown steals than any other back with 3. He was one of only 4 players to beat more than 20 defenders. He scored 2 tries, carried for 323 metres and made 4 offloads. As far as all-rounders go, it doesn't really get much better than that. Next up, we have another positional outlier, a bit like Dan Sheehan. It's Tadhg Beirne. In the game as a second row, but frequently lining up in the back row, Beirne brings a carrying athleticism that's unmatched amongst his second row peers. Once again, the highest scoring second row in the fantasy game in 2025. He was on the field for all but 9 minutes of Ireland's 2025 campaign. Beirne was the only second row to make a line-out steal, a breakdown steal, and score a try. No other second row did all 3. He also made 59 tackles, carried for 92 metres, and beat 2 defenders. In a position lacking great fantasy options, Beirne is a must-pick that justifies the price tag. Back to the back 3 for the next one, and back to England for Immanuel Feyi-Waboso. He missed the entire 2025 Six Nations due to injury, but he's back and firing with 8 tries for Exeter in the Prem this season and 2 tries for England in the autumn, where he played the full 80 in all 4 of England's matches. In the Prem, he also has the second highest metres carried with 616 metres and the third highest defenders beaten with 37. He's got Wales first up in round 1, and this is definitely a case of picking the right man for the right fixture. Last up is another positional outlier, the one and only Antoine Dupont, back from injury and firing like he'd never been away. You didn't think I was going to leave him out, did you? Dupont suffered a serious injury in round 4 of the Six Nations last year, but in just 3¼ matches, he made a huge impact. None more so than in round 3, where he scored the highest individual fantasy score of the entire tournament with an unbelievable 90 points in one match. Tries, meters, retained kicks, offloads, defenders beaten, you can expect it all and more with Dupont. He even topped the overall rankings for total assists with 7 assists in just 3 and a bit matches last year. Since returning from injury in December, he's already got 5 tries to his name for Toulouse and looks more dangerous with every week that passes. Ignore him at your own risk. So that's it for the top 10 premium picks. In the next video, I'll be going over 20 of the best value picks in the game. So make sure you subscribe it, like it, so that you don't miss any other content in the lead up to the Six Nations. Also make sure you join, if you haven't already, my league on the official Six Nations game. There's a direct link in the video description, and you can also join by searching for league number 46773. Finally, a quick note about one of the FRG partners, the Rugby Wardrobe. If you love rugby and want to look good whilst repping the sport, you've got to check out the Rugby Wardrobe. They're taking rugby culture and turning it into proper modern streetwear. Stylish, quality gear that looks just as good off the pitch as it does in the clubhouse. Hoodies, tees, accessories, all designed for rugby fans who want to show a bit of pride without looking like they've just come from training. I love what they're doing, building a real community around rugby culture with a look that's fresh but still unmistakably rugby. Head over to rugbywardrobe.com, and if you're part of the Fantasy Rugby Geek community, you'll get 15% off with the code FANTASYRUGBYGEEK at checkout. So that's it. Get signed up to the fantasy game if you haven't already, join my league, subscribe to my channel and get picking. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.